Welcome, students and learners. My name is David Kern. I'm a middle school graphic design teacher, and today we are going to explore animations in Figma. Animations are a great way to elevate your designs and add some fun movement to your creations. I have created an entire lesson for you that is found in a template. So to find that, go to figma.com/community, go up to that search bar, type in first Figma animation. You're going to find a template by Chaboy. Once you're there, you're going to see something that looks, I'm also so sorry, I just said Chaboy. That is so bad. You're going to find the lesson that looks like this. In the Learn section of this lesson, you're going to see the introduction of what you're going to be learning. The video that is right here is the video you're watching now. There's a couple of sequences of things that you'll be seeing today while you're working with animations, and we're going to be doing some duplication of sections, so definitely pay attention to some of the nuances and intricacies of what I'm explaining today. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to be working with a very basic animation sequence for this first section, and we're going to be starting out with this first iPhone screen that's already been preset for you, so you don't have to go in with finding the frames and getting all that set up. So this is going to be the first frame of our animation. We're going to duplicate that frame by clicking on the name of the frame, iPhone 14 Pro Max. Hit Control D, and you'll see that that has now changed to another frame that looks exactly the same. Let's go ahead and click here. I'm going to hold down Control Alt on Windows and hold down Shift. And we're going to make this a little bit larger of a rectangle. Let's grab that fill, grab our color dropper, and make it a nice kind of brick salmon-y sort of color. Let's hit Control D again on that second frame to make a third frame. On this shape, click and select it. And let's change that corner radius to 100. Now we got ourselves a more rounded, very soft-edged shape. Go ahead and click here, and let's click on the purple, looking pretty snazzy. Let's go ahead and hit Control D again, and let's see if we can now hold down Control and Alt and bring this down to be, well, I'm going to go ahead and just type this to be an exact circle. Let's do 233 by 233. Hit Enter, and let's even round that a little bit more. All right, change this color to a green. Let's click on that fourth frame, hit Control D one more time, and let's go ahead and take out all of the corner radius, and let's hold down Shift and rotate this 90 degrees. Let's go ahead here, let's click, and let's change this. So here are all of my frames, and I'm going to now animate them by moving over to Prototype. Prototype is up here in the top right. I'm going to now click on that, and you'll see that a flow kind of little button has appeared right here. This is the starting frame of our first flow in this lesson today. You're going to see that once you're on Prototype, as you hover over shapes and you hover over frames, there's these little dots that appear. This is where the animation sequence is going to connect from one place to another. I want to animate the frames in this lesson. There's like a whole slew of lessons on YouTube on how to animate shapes to shapes, but right now we're just going to be animating frames to frames. So I'm going to click, and an arrow is going to appear, and I'm going to drag that to my second frame. Let's go ahead and zoom in for this next one to show you a little bit closer. Click on that frame 2, click on the plus icon, and drag over to our frame 3. Let's exit out there for now, and do the same for all of our frames until we get to that last one. Let's go ahead and exit out of this. We'll work on those in a little bit. And let's change this last one here. And now this is where it gets a little tricky. I actually want this to be a sequence. I don't want to have to keep refreshing the animation. So now I'm going to click on my last frame of the sequence, and I'm going to drag an arrow all the way to the front. So what I have here is that on each click, and let's go ahead and click on this preview right now. So when I click on these frames, I have some very basic animations. Now, these are cool and probably look very similar to something you might have made on Google Slides or Google Draw, but Figma has some insanely awesome options here for you, which we're going to actually mass change by selecting over all of these frames. And we're going to go to on click, and we're going to change that navigation from instant to smart animate. When I go back to my preview, I don't even have to refresh, but now when I click on these shapes, they are animating from one frame to the next. The sequencing of Smart Animate is actually making up the space between each shape by having some cool kind of flowing, very gentle features between each frame as I click. So that's awesome. That's pretty rad. Another thing I can do is if I go on over to prototype and I click on show prototype settings, I can now change this device to be the iPhone 14 Max Pro. Let's go ahead and hit refresh there. And now you can see that it looks like a mock-up of an iPhone, and that animation is just looking snazzy. I am very pleased with that. Let's head back and make some more animations by just simply duplicating the section. Click on the selection and hit Control D. And we have section 2. As you can see, a new flow name has appeared labeled Flow 2. This is an entirely different animation sequence than Flow 1. I'm going to actually not really change anything about the design of this animation, but I am going to be changing how things are animated. I'm going to left click and drag over all of those frames, still staying in the prototype phase, and we're going to go to interactions. We're going to type tap. Now on my previous animation, I had to tap through each one of those frames to see the animation, which was great. It was interactive. But if I want to have an animation that just starts on its own without any human need to start it, that was a terrible phrase. We're going to go ahead, human initiation. What should I have said? I don't know. I'm not even going to delete this out. We're going to go now to, instead of on tap, where the human has to tap it each time, we're going to go to after delay. And we're going to change this from 800 milliseconds to 1 millisecond. So there's going to be a 1 millisecond pause as it animates between each frame. Let's go ahead and hit Flow 2 on the play prototype and see the magic happen. This is just awesome. I am so happy with this. It looks great. The colors are moving between each frame, and the shape just looks like it's doing this really fun sort of dance or yoga exercise. Let's go back and continue to get even a little crazier. Let's switch back to design and let's click on section 2 where it's that name, hit Control D, and now we're going to be working with section 3, and you'll see that there is another flow here, which is found, if I click on prototype, it is Flow 3. This one, we're going to change a couple more properties to the design as well as to the animation. I'm first going to change the background of each frame just to give this a little more uniformity and just some good feel with the background. Instead of them all being the same exact color, we're going to change them. Let's click on fill once you've clicked on that name of the frame, and let's actually change this to the color of the shape, and let's lighten that by dragging this up here. Let's click on the next one. This is our second frame. Let's click on the fill of that frame, click our eyedropper, click that color, and let's drag that up ever so slightly. Let's click on our third frame. We got this wonderful looking purple, lavenderish, and let's bring this on up. And let's actually make it a little bit lighter. There we go. Happy with that. Let's go to our mint green sphere. Let's click on fill of our frame. Let's make that frame the same exact color. Let's bring this on up. Looking great. I am pretty happy with this. Let's go to our last frame. Click on fill. Let's change that fill to be the exact same. And let's bring this up right here. You can feel free to copy me exactly or change the background colors however you'd like or see fit within your style. And what we're going to do next is we're going to actually change how the animations interact with one another by changing the animation entirely. Let's click on prototype, or I shouldn't say entirely, I guess just how the frames are animated. We're going to go ahead and highlight all of these frames again. Click on delay. We're going to keep the delay to 1 millisecond. We're going to change the smart animate from ease out to ease in and back out. Let's go ahead and click on that. We've changed a couple things. I just love clicking this play button. It's so fun to see once you've changed one animation, changed some things up, added some different elements to see what that result looks like. This is also a great place to see where your mistakes are, how you could fix them in that prototype phase. Let's click play and see what happens with Flow 3. All right, so Flow 3 is really flowing, really looking awesome. There are subtle changes to that smart animate where it's ease in and out and back out again. And you'll see that shape's kind of doing a little jump up and then coming back to the original shape that I made it for that frame. So a pretty fun animation sequence, and I also love seeing the background change as that color of that initial shape is changing as well. I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to go ahead and, yes, you probably predicted, we're going to go back to our next section and we're going to make one more. So click on section 3, the name of section 3, hit Control D, and now we're going to be working with section 4 and Flow 4. We're going to be sadly deleting all of our wonderful shapes that we just made because we got to start from scratch here. We're not going to be changing the animation sequence at all, so don't change anything in prototype. Make sure you switch back to design and delete all of those previous shapes that we were just animating. Say thank you to them if you want to, and goodbye. We're now going to click on the rectangle, and let's hold down Shift and make a rectangle around 80 or 77 is close enough for me. Let's bring that to the center. Let's make this completely black, and let's add a stroke of 8, but let's make that stroke of 8 completely white, and let's make again that stroke 8. Okay. Here we have rectangle 29, and rectangle 29 is the 29th rectangle we have made in this sequence of making shapes and frames and all this stuff. So congratulations, you've made a ton. We're going to now round these corners. I'm going to click on just 100, round those corners so it looks like a perfect circle. Doesn't really look like rectangle 29 anymore, does it? We're going to click on that shape, hit Control D once, twice, and a third time. You'll see that I now have rectangle 29, 30, 31, and 32 in this frame. Do not change these names or do not make any more shapes in these frames as to try to create something different. Your animation is just not going to work the way you want it to. So just follow the sequence and you can totally mess around with it later. Go ahead and left click and hit Control C once you have selected rectangles 29 through 32. Click on the second frame of this sequence and hit Control V. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to hold down Control Alt on Windows, make this nice and large. Again, I still have rectangles 29 through 32 selected. Hit Control C and go to my next frame, hit Control V. On this frame now, I still have rectangles 29 through 32. Don't change the names, but we are going to be changing the shapes quite a bit. I'm going to hold down Shift and let's bring this back to center. Let's click on rectangle 32. Congratulations, you are our lucky winner. And let's change that 90 degrees. Now let's go ahead and left click, hold down Shift, and let's rotate those to look like an X. While they're selected, hold down Control Shift, click here on our fourth frame, I think it is, and let's hit Control V. As I can see, I have the exact same shape. Let's go ahead and click on rectangle 32. Let's click on rectangle 31, and let's change rectangle 31 to be right here. Now let's click on these shapes and change all of them. Hold down Shift to kind of give us this feel. While they're selected, hold down Control C. I'm clicking and dragging. Let's click on our last and final frame, hit Control V, and let's find either rectangle 30 or rectangle 29. Let's go with rectangle 30. As you can see, I am clicking on these shapes on the left-hand panel. And let's change this to make kind of an asterisk symbol. And let's change this shape by holding Control Alt. Also, I got this idea from my friend Miggy. I'll add his tag right here. Check him out. He's phenomenal and an awesome designer and educator. Let's hold down Control Alt. So all credit goes to him on this design, as it was his original idea, I believe. Now, as you can see, I have some way different animations with multiple shapes and rectangles in each frame. Let's go ahead and switch this to prototype. Let's hit Flow 4 and just see what happens. Wow, so this is amazing. This is crazy and awesome. As you can see, all of those four shapes, I think it was rectangle 29 and so on, they are animating to one another, and it's just incredible. So that is it for kind of our first flush of trying animations, making different things in Figma. I would like you to go ahead and zoom on out and just check out this progress, starting off with some very basic animations with click demands, and then going into some other more complicated features of animations. You should be very proud of yourself and play around with this. Make section 5, make section 6 through 10 or whatever. Play around with stuff, mess things up, learn by mistakes, and try some of the things that you maybe took away from this video. Hope you have a great time continuing designing and making animations in Figma. Take care.